So another week is behind us in the world of Stadia gaming, and the year is still looking to shape up as we continue the holiday hangover. And today we don't have a ton of news, but we have some notable things to talk about, like Digital Foundry's breakdown of how Stadia's Cyberpunk 2077 compares to the Xbox Series X. It's very interesting, and I have some good and annoyed thoughts. We also got a few updates on a couple of titles that are headed to Stadia, like Dirt 5 and Outriders. So with that, subscribe if you're new to the channel as I cover all the Stadia news and games. Also hit that like button and notification bell. So as we are all waiting for the upcoming 1.07 patch to head to Stadia, the folks over at Digital Foundry did a full analysis and breakdown of Cyberpunk 2077 on Stadia and how it breaks and stacks up to the Xbox Series X version. Now, if you don't know who or what Digital Foundry is, they are the folks who do a deep dive into the technical analysis of how games run and break down on any given platform. So they do pinpoint analysis on the exact breakdown of FPS, the exact pixel count like 4K or 1080p, and they typically are the very best at what they do. Only in their analysis of Stadia games in the past, they have been extremely suspect. They've run Stadia on typically non-optimal setups that are not normal for the everyday Stadia user. Running their Stadia gaming in packed offices with God knows how many people on a network at the same time running through Wi-Fi is not normal. This isn't a typical home setting with your family on your Wi-Fi. These would be extreme conditions that would make it really hard to play Stadia uninterrupted, and they have received criticism in the past for doing Stadia analysis under these suboptimal conditions, and they have recognized that, which is why they completely changed up their solution this time and decided to record Stadia via their car on a laptop with a Chrome browser on a public Wi-Fi with 200 megabits per second near a cell phone tower. Stop me if that didn't sound insane already. Unfortunately, it seemed like the analysis at the start of this YouTube video was to show how to get Stadia to run perfect, they needed to be under these extreme circumstances, when in all honesty, I kind of took this like at, wow, how versatile is Stadia, to where you can be playing on a laptop in your car and you're still doing 4K streaming. I mean, tell me what other platform can actually do that? Unfortunately, again, this showed that this was not a normal condition to truly analyze what the majority of us who are gaming and playing Cyberpunk with Stadia would be under, mostly at home with a normal connection, probably through a Chromecast Ultra or through your web browser, with at the very worst your family on your network. Now, if you're questioning me and saying, well, Stadia should be stacked up on any circumstance because not everyone is going to have perfect conditions, I actually agree with you, but my problem is comparing it with another platform who does have its most optimal settings should also be compared with the other platform with its most optimal settings as well, to have that true one versus one comparison. Either way, it ironically turned out pretty good in my opinion for Stadia. Digital Foundry admitted Stadia blew it out of the water in comparison to the old generation consoles like the Xbox One X and the PlayStation 4, and it wasn't even close or even worth comparing, which makes a lot of sense. Old consoles are many years old now. Xbox Series X, while it is running the last gen version of Cyberpunk, still stacked up well to Stadia. In some cases, more foliage appeared better on Stadia, but shadows were better on Series X. They also analyzed that the Cyberpunk's quality mode reached 1584p maximum, and on Series X it was 1800p. This is unfortunately a direct contradiction from CD Projekt Red themselves that confirmed to Stadia's source that Stadia's version is indeed running at normal 38x40 2160 in quality mode and 1080p on performance mode. Keep in mind, Digital Foundry says they topped at 1584, not 2160p on Stadia. They also mentioned on performance mode, Stadia was at around 45 FPS to 60 FPS, but mostly had its moments at around 45 to 50 the more that you had going on in your gameplay, and of course driving around the city definitely dropped the FPS. Overall, they gave the slight nod to the Xbox Series X, with Stadia not being too far behind at all. Keeping in mind that one console is $500 and not readily available to the mass public, versus the other, which would just have you spending a simple $60 to buy the game, and of course having the Pro membership to reach that 4K resolution. My only gripe would be, again, they did not do a complete fair comparison. Having to park your car near a cell phone tower to play on public Wi-Fi with your laptop on a Chrome browser is not the fairest assessment, and I'm gonna tell them to please stop doing these comparisons in general until they can just get a normal setup, because it's not 1 versus 1 when you're comparing it to the Xbox Series X that is in its most optimal condition, and Stadia of course isn't. Just get a normal connection at home with a Chromecast Ultra and record your footage and go from there. Either way, ironically, in my opinion, Stadia still stood up, and while a lot of people in this community were a little insulted by this comparison, mostly because of the conditions that they were running it at, I looked at this really positive overall. Stadia did just as well as a $500 console, and Stadia is yet to receive its own upgrades for next gen, and you will see that in the near future. So when those next gen upgrades do happen for Stadia, it's going to be a much more interesting comparison, and hopefully something that we can revisit in a year, maybe with a different title, as overall Cyberpunk 2077 is still a game that is poorly optimized, even when you have a $3,000 computer. In the end, I've beaten the game myself as of the last few days, and I have to say my experience with Cyberpunk on Stadia has been an absolute blast, and I recommend it to anyone at the end of the day. I think it's awesome to see it compared so well with next generation consoles already, especially when Stadia can be played pretty much anywhere. I mean, I can play on my phone, which I have been doing, and I have been enjoying playing Cyberpunk, as well as on my tablet, so it's been an awesome experience. I'm going to go ahead and have a link down below to that video, the full 16-minute breakdown. Make sure you guys let me know your thoughts though on this entire thing down below, as I know you guys are going to have a lot to say on the subject. Alright, so we have some quick updates on some Stadia titles headed our way in 2021. Outriders is going to see a demo on February 25th, though there's no word if Stadia users will have access to this demo as well, but they also mentioned that the title is going to see a delay until April 1st. Again, there is no word on if Stadia is going to see this delay, but in their Twitter bio it mentions April 1st for all the platforms, unfortunately except Stadia, seeing it in 2021. Hopefully here, Google decides to light a fire under the publisher like they did with CD Projekt Red, and we get to see it day and day, as Outriders is a anticipated title, and it will also feature crossplay on Stadia with all the platforms, so that includes consoles and PC. Either way, I'm going to keep you guys updated on this demo and hopefully the eventual release date. So we got a mini update here from our friends over at the Stadia Racing Discord and community on Dirt 5. They wanted me to let you guys know all about them and the awesome community they have going. I'm going to go ahead and have a link down below. Join a full exclusive Racing Stadia Discord who do schedule and do dedicated races with other Stadia players. But they reached out to Codemasters on an update for Dirt 5 on Stadia, and they said we should see an early 2021 release. Additionally, they also mentioned that they are in their final stages to getting the game out. This is good news all around, and like always, when this game does come out, guys, I will definitely be fully covering it here on the channel and giving you guys that full coverage. With that, let me know your guys' thoughts on the Digital Foundry Stadia versus Xbox Series X comparison and the Outriders and Dirt 5 updates. Also, make sure you guys like, subscribe, share, and hit that notification bell. I'm Sunny, and like always, I'll see you guys in the cloud.